You may think the path to a man's heart lies in admiration, support, or sweet approval. But what if I told you that the true path is much darker, much quieter, and far more powerful? There is a hidden gate in the male psyche that very few understand. It is not opened by beauty. It is not unlocked by words. It is awakened only when something inside him is disturbed. Not his love, not his logic, but his ego. Yes, the very thing he believes keeps him strong is the thread you must gently pull, not with violence, not with cruelty, but with mystery, poise, and unexpected silence. Understand this. The ego is not his truth. It is only his armor. The louder it speaks, the more fragile the man beneath it truly is. And when that armor is scratched, not destroyed, only scratched, something primal happens within him. He begins to chase, not you at first, but the version of himself that your presence disrupted. He doesn't want to admit it, but he feels it. That uncomfortable flutter in his chest when you don't reply instantly. That sting of confusion when your eyes don't light up with approval. That silence you gift him, not out of punishment but out of fullness. It burns him, and in that burn, obsession begins. You must become a woman of emotional discipline. Not reactive, not easily impressed. You must let his words fall into your world, like stones in a deep well. Let them echo. Let him wonder whether they reach your heart. When a woman holds her center, when she speaks less, observes more, and walks away without explanation, the man's ego panics. His identity, built on being seen as powerful, begins to question itself. This is not cruelty. This is not manipulation. This is ancient power. Attraction, you see, is not born from comfort. It is born in imbalance. When a man feels slightly off-center around you, when he feels he cannot predict your next emotional move, his mind clings to you. His spirit starts chasing not a person, but the peace he thinks you have taken from him. And here is the secret. You have taken nothing. You simply refuse to give him the validation he did not earn. That is what stings. That is what haunts. That is what makes him replay your words in the dead of night, long after the world has gone silent. There is obsession in the wound. There is passion in the unanswered question. There is devotion in the emotional mystery. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need to beg to be remembered. You only need to become the mirror that reflects his illusions back to him. This is not about being heartless. It is about being sovereign. A woman who knows her value disturbs the air around her. Not with noise, but with presence. Not with chaos, but with calm. So the next time you feel the urge to please, to fix, to explain, pause. Let the silence speak for you. Let him feel the absence of approval. Let him taste the unfamiliar. And watch what happens. The man who once believed you was the sun will begin to orbit around the moonlight of your mystery. Not because you gave him more, but because for the first time, you gave him less. And in that space, he loses control. And in losing control, he begins to need you. Not out of love, but out of obsession. That is how it begins. And that is how it always has. You look at a man and you think he is strong. The way he walks, the way he talks, the way he looks at the world like he already owns it. It creates an illusion. But the truth is that strength is often not strength at all. It is a carefully crafted illusion. The mask. A performance that has been rehearsed over and over again, not to impress others but to protect the soft, unseen part of him that he never dares to reveal. The ego of a man is not his soul. It is not even his personality. It is a wall, a defense mechanism he built, brick by brick, through years of being told what a man should be. He learned early that vulnerability would be punished, that hesitation would be mocked, and that softness would be crushed. So he armored up. He learned to walk with pride, to speak with certainty, to act with conviction, even when he was unsure. And so when you come into his world, glowing with your own light, he does not see you as a threat. At first, you smile at his charm. You listen when he speaks. You feed his ego gently, like pouring water into a cup, and he feels good. He feels seen. He feels powerful. But what he does not realize is that the moment a woman sees too much of the mask and not enough of the man, she begins to lose interest. And you do. But you do not leave, not yet. You stay, quietly. And instead of feeding his ego, you start doing something else. You pull away. Not rudely, not loudly, just slightly. You ask less. You smile less. You compliment less. You let his words hang in the air without rushing to affirm them. And suddenly, something inside him shifts. He notices. He notices because the fuel that kept his ego blazing, your attention, your reaction, your approval, has started to vanish. At first, he doesn't understand. He replays your conversations. He scrolls through your messages. He rewatches the way your eyes used to light up at his presence. He wonders, where did that go? He starts to doubt. Not you, himself. This is the moment that changes everything. Because now he is not thinking about you as a prize to win, but as a mirror that has shown him something he cannot bear to face, that he is not as in control as he thought. That perhaps he is not the man he believed he was. That maybe, just maybe, your lack of validation has cracked something inside him that he cannot glue back together. You did not insult him. You did not argue. You simply became less accessible. You gave less energy. You stopped feeding the mask. And in doing so you reached something deeper than compliments ever could. His fear, the fear that he is not enough without being admired. The fear that silence from a woman of value means failure. The fear that the power he felt was never really his to begin with. It given by your attention, and now that it's gone, so is his sense of self. But he won't say this. He will not tell you this bothers him. He will pretend it doesn't matter. He will act like he doesn't notice. And still, he will think about you at night. Your silence, your calm, your distance. He will think about what he could do to get your focus back. He will try little things. A message that sounds casual but is really a test. A compliment masked as a joke. A sudden call after days of not speaking. He wants back in. Not because you gave him everything, but because you took something away without explanation. And now, his ego is bleeding. The curious thing about pain is that it does not always repel people. Sometimes it draws them in. When someone causes emotional discomfort in a quiet and graceful way, it does not create enemies. It creates obsession. Because the mind cannot rest when there is no closure. It searches, it replays, it rewrites. You have become a story that has no ending. And that is what keeps him hooked. Not your beauty, not your sweetness, not your kindness. Those things are lovely, but they are expected. What captured him was the unexpected shift. The change in energy, the way you disappeared without ever leaving. The way your presence became a question instead of an answer. This is not manipulation, it is awareness. You did not try to break him. You simply refused to praise the mask. You saw it for what it was, protection, not power. And when a man realizes that his power is not making you stay, he does not get angry. He gets addicted. Addicted to trying to be the man he thought he was in your eyes. Addicted to winning back the feeling he lost the moment you went silent. This is not about playing games. It is about playing truth. And truth, when spoken without words, is the most powerful thing in the world. You, standing in your calmness, owning your silence, not reacting, you become the storm in his mind. You become the question mark in his certainty. You become the ache in his chest he cannot explain. And all you did was stop giving. When you understand how deeply the male ego is tied to being admired, you will stop giving your energy to every man who demands it. You will choose when to speak, when to give, when to pull back. Not as a tactic, but as an art. And the ones who only love the mask will leave. But the ones who feel your silence, who ache in your absence, who burn to become worthy of your gaze again, they will stay. They will upset. Because deep down, every man wants to be unmasked. But only by a woman who doesn't need to wear one herself. Power is loud. Mystery is silent. But when they dance together, something extraordinary happens. You may not even notice it at first, but every time you enter a room, subtle shift takes place. When you walk with presence instead of performance, when you choose stillness over chaos and calm over craving, you do not chase attention. You attract it, not with loud colors or loud words, but with something much more magnetic, control of your own energy. Men, especially those used to being in control, sense this energy immediately. They can feel it in their gut, it unsettles them. Not in a way that frightens, but in a way that awakens. It's not something you say, it's something you withhold. And that withholding becomes irresistible. Most women are trained to pursue closeness. They offer smiles too quickly. They explain themselves too early. They open too wide, too soon, hoping it will bring connection. But true connection doesn't come from exposure. It comes from restraint. A man becomes obsessed, not when he sees all of you, but when he realizes he can't. When he senses depth beneath your eyes that he cannot quite access. When he hears laughter that doesn't come with an explanation. When your presence says, you are welcome to try, but I do not promise entry. That is the mystery. And mystery, when paired with inner power, is more intoxicating than beauty, more unforgettable than charm. A powerful woman who knows her worth does not need to be cruel. She does not need to prove her intelligence or compete with a man's dominance. She simply is. She walks with the quiet knowledge that her attention is a gift, and not one given freely to anyone who demands it. In this dance, you do not rush, you do not lean in, you do not over-explain, you let him make the first move. And even then, you respond with poise, not eagerness. Every word you speak feels intentional. Every glance you give carries weight. You create emotional tension, not through seduction, but through self-possession. And this tension is everything. Most men are used to emotional predictability. They say something charming and women melt. They offer attention and it is returned with double. But when they encounter someone who does not play this script, someone who listens more than she speaks, who pauses before she answers, who looks into their eyes as if seeing through them, they don't know what to do. And what a person doesn't understand, they begin to chase. Not because you are teasing, but because you are unfazed. You are not a puzzle to be solved, but a presence to be earned. And the moment he realizes that, his energy begins to shift. He leans forward. He tries harder, not because you asked, but because you didn't. You allowed space. And in that space, his curiosity grew. You become unforgettable when you no longer try to impress. You become addictive when you no longer try to convince. You become powerful when you no longer over-explain your silence. This is not coldness. This is spiritual warmth that doesn't burn too quickly. You radiate a slow, steady heat, the kind that draws people closer not because you chase but because you remain. There is a power in unpredictability, not chaos, but depth. A man starts to feel that he can't fully grasp you. He begins to question whether he has you, and that questioning becomes his obsession. Because the ego wants certainty. It craves control, and when it doesn't have it, it begins to spiral. And there you are, calm, not distant, just sovereign. You laugh when something is truly funny. You speak when something truly matters. You don't react for the sake of approval. You don't compliment just to be polite. You don't rush into intimacy, even when he invites it. You understand the value of delay. When a man feels that he cannot predict your next move, he stays alert, emotionally awake. You have now shifted the dynamic. You are no longer the one proving. You are the one being proven to. And in this new balance, he becomes addicted to winning you. Not just your affection, your attention, your trust, your depth. He doesn't realize it at first. But your unpredictability, the way you don't respond instantly, the way you say no gently, the way you change the rhythm of the conversation without force, it creates contrast. And contrast leaves an imprint. It's not about making him feel small. It's about making him feel something he doesn't normally feel, uncertain. Because in that uncertainty, a man meets himself. He starts to wonder why he's thinking about you, why he checks his phone, why he wants to impress you more than others. And the answer is not because you gave him everything, but because you did. He is now in motion. You did not ask for it. You simply stayed in your center. And that is the real seduction. To become a force he cannot conquer, not with gifts, not with flattery, not with status, but only with truth. And truth in a woman who is not afraid to be misunderstood is rare. That is the dance. You move in silence. He follows in noise. But no matter how close he comes, the mystery remains. And he will keep coming back, again and again, trying to touch what he cannot fully hold. That is not manipulation. That is mastery. We are taught to believe that love is born in peace, that comfort creates closeness, that the more ease someone feels around you, the more they will want to stay. But this is not the way attraction works. Not in its deepest, most obsessive form. Attraction is not born in comfort. It is born in imbalance, in the subtle confusion between what is felt and what is given, in the contrast between presence and withdrawal, in the unexpected shift of emotional energy. A man may say he wants a peaceful connection, a relationship without drama, a love that feels like home, but the very thing that ignites obsession in his heart is not what he claims to want. It is what unsettles him. When he cannot fully understand you, when he feels pulled toward you one moment and unsure of you the next, something awakens in him. Something old, something primal. He starts to think about you more, not because you were perfect, but because your energy was unpredictable, because you gave him what he did not expect. You smiled when he was unsure. You were silent when he expected affection. You showed kindness without attachment. You did not give him emotional security on command, and in doing so, you made him crave it. This is not a game. This is not cruelty. This is the delicate art of being whole. A woman who does not hand over her emotions just because someone else wants them creates a space of tension. That tension is not toxic, it is electric. And electricity is what makes his mind return to you again and again. If a man always knows where he stands with you, his mind can rest. He feels safe. But he also feels done. When there is nothing left to wonder about, there is nothing left to chase. And without the chase, his attention begins to drift. But if your energy shifts, not because you are playing a role, but because you are simply attuned to your own emotional truth, you create contrast. You create pause. You disrupt the expected pattern. And in that disruption, his mind wakes up. Now he has to work. He has to observe. He has to think about what you are feeling. He has to lean in. Because you are no longer a mirror for his desires, you are a mystery reflecting his emotional gaps. This imbalance, the subtle kind, the emotional kind, becomes the spark. He cannot predict what you will say. He cannot rely on old strategies to win you. He must become more present, more thoughtful, more emotionally alive. That is the price of reaching you. You are not difficult. You are not complicated. You are not complicated. You are simply not available for emotional laziness. And he feels that. He feels it when you do not react instantly to his praise, when you do not fall for his charm, when you listen more than you speak, when your energy shifts like the seasons, not to punish, but to evolve. He begins to miss you. Even while sitting beside you, he wonders if he truly has you. That wonder becomes fascination. That fascination becomes obsession, not because you withheld affection, but because you gave it from a place of choice, not need. That is the difference. You are not afraid to disconnect. You are not terrified of his silence. You do not chase clarity. You allow tension to exist without rushing to soothe it. And that unsettles him. Because men are not used to emotional gaps. They are used to certainty, to reaction, to instant feedback. But when they meet a woman who can sit in silence without discomfort, who does not explain her every mood, who does not give everything away, they begin to feel unsure. That uncertainty becomes fuel. He will begin to analyze, to decode, to try harder. He will offer more than he did before. He will reach deeper into himself, searching for the right words, the right gestures, the right presence to win you back, even if you never left. You have now created emotional movement, not with anger, not with drama, but with your calm unpredictability. This is where obsession is born, not in loud passion, but in quiet imbalance, not in declarations, but in unanswered questions. You did not wound him, you revealed him to himself. And the part of him that aches to feel worthy of your stillness will not let go. You see, when you are emotionally whole, your love becomes sacred. You do not give it to soothe someone's ego. You do not give it to ease someone's fears. You give it from a place of abundance, and only to those who can meet you there. A man who feels this will never forget you. Because the moment you created imbalance, you gave him a gift, the realization that he must rise. Not because you asked him to, but because his soul cannot rest while you remain a mystery. That is the kind of attraction that does not fade. It is not built on convenience. It is built on inner movement. It is carved into his memory, not with words but with feelings he cannot name. He may not understand it. He may not be able to describe it, but he will return to it, over and over again. Because in that slight imbalance, you gave him something no one else did. The chance to feel incomplete and the desire to become whole. There is a strange truth in human nature, one that feels almost unfair. Yet it repeats itself in every heart that has ever longed for something just beyond its grasp. It is this: what we cannot fully have begins to grow in our minds. What slips from our fingers does not disappear. It multiplies inside our imagination. And what feels like rejection does not kill attraction. It magnifies it. When a woman does not chase, something shifts inside a man. When she does not soften at his praise, does not light up at his attention, does not respond the way others have, a seed is planted. It is not a seed of anger, not a seed of hate. It is far more dangerous than it is a seed of obsession. And this obsession does not come from love. It comes from dissonance, from the bruising of the ego. Rejection, when it comes wrapped in elegance, becomes a riddle. When a woman walks away not with rage, not with drama, but with a quiet sense of fullness, she becomes unforgettable. He cannot stop thinking about her. Because she did not reject him, she rejected the image of himself that he tried to offer her. And now, he feels exposed. You see, most men lead with identity, not authenticity. They present their worth like a polished coin: status, power, attention, charm. These are the currencies they've been told women want. And when they spend these things and still do not receive your energy, they do not feel insulted. They feel undone. He begins to wonder, why not me? What did I miss? What does she see that I do not? He asks these questions not because he loved you. Love may not even have had time to form. He asks them because his internal mirror cracked. His certainty wobbled, and when a man no longer feels sure of himself in your presence, he begins to loop around you like a planet to a sun he cannot touch. And here lies the paradox. You said less, and he heard more. You pulled away, and he stepped closer. You did not give him answers, and his mind created thousands of them. Rejection, when given without emotional punishment, becomes a test of character. Not for you, for him. You were not cruel. You were clear. You were not dramatic. You were dignified. You did not beg him to rise. You simply stopped lowering your energy to meet his. And now, the silence you left behind screams in his soul. He replays the moment you didn't smile back, the words you didn't say, the affection you didn't offer when he expected it. His ego wants revenge, but his heart wants resolution. And the two fight inside him like fire and wind. He may try to distract himself. He may pretend you are just like the others. He may tell his friends you were cold, distant, unworthy of his time. But that is only the surface. Underneath, the rejection burned a hole through his illusion. And now, he is staring at that hole, wondering how to close it. What he does not realize is that your rejection was never personal. You simply did not collapse into his fantasy. You did not play the part he was used to. You did not give him the validation he thought he deserved just by showing up. And that, to a man who has always been in control, feels like rebellion. And the heart, when faced with rebellion, either shuts down or wakes up. Some men will walk away and blame you, but the ones who are honest, even just a little, will stay connected. Not through presence, through thoughts, through memory, through that subtle ache that does not go away. They will return to the conversation in their minds. They will wonder if they could have said something differently, done more, been more. They will remember how your eyes didn't chase them, how your energy didn't shift to accommodate them, how your goodbye was silent, not angry, and how silence stings more than shouting ever could. This is not a strategy. It is a spiritual truth. When you become a woman who does not offer her energy freely, you become a mirror to the soul. And not every man is ready to look into that mirror. But the ones who do, they will never forget what they saw. Not because you hurt them, but because you reminded them of where they still need to grow. That is the paradox of rejection. It is not always a door closing. Sometimes it is a doorway inward. And obsession? Obsession is not always about desire. Sometimes it is about resolution. A man cannot release the woman who reminded him of his own shadows. He cannot forget the moment his pride cracked, not because she humiliated him, but because she did not need him. That lack of need, that emotional sovereignty, is what echoes, not just in his mind, in his body, in his nervous system, in his breath, when he lies awake, wondering why your silence is louder than all the voices in his world. He will chase other things. He will try to replace you. He will find women who praise him easily. And for a while he will feel powerful again. Until one night, he remembers. The woman who did not bow. The woman who did not chase. The woman who walked away. Not because she hated him, but because she loved herself more. And in that moment, he understands. It was never about you rejecting him. It was about you reflecting him back to himself. And he will never forget that reflection. Not ever. You have heard the silence that echoes louder than screams. You have felt the tension in a room that does not come from conflict, but from unshaken presence. This is not about playing games. This is not about manipulating hearts. This is about embodying the truth that when you know your worth, the world shifts around you. Not because you force it, but because you no longer bend for it. Understand this now, deep in your bones. Obsession does not come from excess. It does not come from always being available, always being agreeable, always being there. Obsession is born in the space between what a man desires and what he cannot control. It is forged in the fire of emotional contrast, where you pull away, not in anger but in power, where you withhold, not in punishment but in peace. You are not meant to chase. You are not meant to shrink yourself to be loved. You are not meant to explain your every silence, just to make someone feel safe. You are not an apology. You are not a mirror for a man's ego. You are the storm he didn't see coming. You are the calm he cannot conquer. And in your calmness you carry an ancient force that no title, no charm, no wealth can match. The woman who can walk away without flinching is the woman who is remembered forever. Because the world remembers fire, but it never forgets the woman who became ice. You were not put on this earth to be understood by everyone. Especially not by those who only want the parts of you that are easy to digest. You are not created to be soft when your soul is screaming for strength. You are the rare kind, the kind who loves without needing, who stays without clinging, who leaves without looking back. And yes, your silence will disturb, your mystery will provoke, your lack of reaction will unsettle. But that is the price of being unshakable. Let the ones who cannot meet your frequency fall away. Let the ones who only wanted your smile disappear when they face your stillness. And let the man who thought he had you taste the bitterness of losing a woman who required depth, not performance. Because what is truly rare is not a woman who gives too much. What is rare is a woman who knows when to stop giving. She does not walk away to create pain. She walks away because her soul no longer recognizes the energy being offered. And in doing so, she teaches a lesson that no speech can deliver, that the highest value is not the one most available, but the one most respected. You do not need to shout to be heard. You do not need to prove your intelligence, your value, your kindness. You only need to be, because when you are whole, the world feels it. And when you are silent, the world listens. So let them wonder, let them ache, let them replay every word you didn't say. And while they do that, rise in your purpose, rise in your strength, rise in your quiet confidence. Become so grounded in who you are that no man, no silence, no departure can make you question your reflection. Because when you own your energy, you do not fear losing anyone. You only fear losing yourself. And now remember this, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Sometimes the most beautiful closure is your absence. Sometimes the most unforgettable love story is the one where you chose yourself. As one great voice once said, you attract what you are ready for. If he is not ready for your depth, your truth, your silence, then let him go back to the noise. Let him drown in the voices that praise him for what he pretends to be. You are not here for pretense. You are here for power. The lion does not turn when the small dog barks. That is your energy now. You do not need to explain why you require more. You do not need to justify why you pulled away. Your value is not up for debate. And the man who sees that, truly sees it, will never ask you to become smaller just so he can feel bigger. He will rise to meet you, or he will fall behind. Either way, you stay unshaken. Because you were never chasing a man. You were becoming a woman who no longer needed to. And the world will notice. Because still waters run deep. Because quiet storms last longer. Because a woman who walks in her power never walks alone. She carries history in her silence. She carries royalty in her gaze. She carries a kind of magnetism that no formula can manufacture, the kind that shakes egos, awakens hearts, and leaves a man forever chasing the echo of what he once had, but never fully held. And if he ever asks why you left, why you didn't beg, why you didn't explain, let your silence be your answer. Because some truths are too powerful to be spoken. They are only understood once they are gone. And that is when the obsession truly begins.